the famous lives and the obscure but irreplaceable leaders of the Revolution. Most important of all, Pat finds the lessons in the lives of these leaders, lessons that you and I can learn and apply in our own leadership lives today. Pat is a captivating storyteller. Through the stories in this book, you'll hear how the early patriots came together to build, to paraphrase Lincoln, a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all people are created equal. Pat shows us how the founding American principles were engraved on the hearts of those early patriots: liberty, equality, and government by consent of the governed. And Pat shows how the essential qualities of leadership were demonstrated by those early patriots: vision, communication skills, people skills, good character, competence, boldness, and a serving heart. Without these 7 qualities, we can't lead. But a leader who embodies them all is ready to start a revolution and take on an empire. The early patriots and the founding fathers were not plaster saints. They had flaws and foibles and eccentricities, and Pat documents them honestly in this book. And I'm glad he does, because I can't identify with or learn from a plaster saint. But I can learn a lot from the real flesh-and-blood leaders Pat presents to us in Revolutionary Leadership. You and I live in troubled times, times that cry out for bold, dedicated leadership. As James Russell Lowell wrote in his poem, This Present Crisis, "Once to every man and nation comes the moment to decide, in the strife of truth with falsehood, for the good or evil side." When their moment came, the Revolutionary era patriots decided. They met the crisis of their time. They led. Now it's our time to decide. It's our crisis. It's our turn to lead. Revolutionary leadership will embolden you. It will instruct you and inspire you for the days ahead. Whatever your leadership arena, Pat's stories and revolutionary insights will strengthen you for the fight. Brian Kilmeade, TV and radio host, Fox News. Author, Sam Houston and the Alamo Avengers. Introduction. Leadership Forged in Crisis. This book was forged in crisis. The coronavirus, COVID-19 crisis of 2020, was just starting to rage across the globe as I wrote about the events of 1775 through 1783, the crisis of the American Revolutionary War. At first glance, these 2 eras seem completely unlike each other. Yet the Revolutionary War crisis and the coronavirus crisis are really not all that different. The Revolutionary War era was, like our own time, an era of a virulent, deadly epidemic. The smallpox epidemic began in 1775 and terrorized the newborn nation of America for 7 years, coinciding almost exactly with the 8-year Revolutionary War. Conditions were perfect for spreading the disease throughout the 13 colonies. People were crowded together in military encampments, besieged cities, and ships at sea. Like carriers of COVID-19, smallpox carriers were extremely contagious while showing no symptoms during the 2-week incubation period. As a result, the smallpox virus would spread invisibly through a population before anyone suspected its presence. Historians say the smallpox epidemic of 1775 to 1782 claimed 5 to 10 times as many people as were killed by the Revolutionary War. Then, as now, the epidemic was a leadership challenge. General George Washington, Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, had to decide how to respond to the smallpox outbreak among his troops. It was his decision alone whether or not to inoculate his troops against smallpox, and it was not an easy decision. Doctors in the 18th century had learned a crude technique for smallpox inoculation called variolation. A small amount of infectious matter was taken from the sores of a smallpox sufferer and introduced to the skin of a healthy person. This would trigger the healthy person's immune system to fight the smallpox infection when the disease was at a weaker stage. Normally,